It's Monday night. DRL Radio is on the air. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk about all things sim racing. Here are your hosts, Rich, Mr. TV Time Patton, Todd, Too Tall Stat, and Phil, the Racer Lacasse. Okay, boys, let's have some fun. Yes.
Back again live on a Monday night. Welcome to DRL Live, a weekly talk show dedicated to all things sim racing, live here on the DRL network. Once again, back on a Monday night, we talk about all things sim racing from NR 2003 and beyond, and we touch upon all sorts of different things over the course of this little program. Thanks out there, everybody out there in YouTube land for watching. My name is Phil Lacasse, along with Todd Stanton, Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, and special guest with us this week, Mr. Joe Allen, Joey the Jet, here for another edition of DRL Live. Joe making his talk show debut, so cool to have Joe aboard here tonight. But Todd, it's been a busy week here. We've been off the air for about 2 weeks as far as this program. We got a lot to get to here later on. But what have you been up to this week, man? I know we've been busy up and down, racing all over the place and doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But everything good in Todd World?
Oh, everything's been fantastic here in Todd World. I've been up and down, trying to hunker down. I know you've had about the same weather I've had. It's been snow the last 3 or 4 days, so I've been able to be on the computer a little bit longer. Been able to actually get some work done for a change and stop procrastinating and getting things together. So it's been interesting last 4 days, Phil. It was a nasty day to go to work today again. So I'm hoping the snow ends. I'm ready for summertime. I'm ready for, I can go outside and go to the real dirt track racing and smell them racing fumes. I'm kind of waiting to get high on them.
I couldn't agree more, Todd. As I said, being up here in the northeast corner, being in northeast Connecticut myself, we've certainly been pelted with a dose of winter this week. It kind of feels like that all the winter decided to show up here in 1 week, as we've been pelted with almost 2 feet of snow here over the last week or so. So it's certainly been really cold, really windy, and said a lot of time indoors and a lot of stuff to do. I know I've been able to take in a lot of racing here over the last couple of weeks, and we'll get to all of that here as part of the weekly review. And of course, some good speed round topics here later tonight. We'll get Rich Patton on the horn and get those all to our ear, and we'll open up the conversation to our viewers out there, because this is what this show is about. It's about you, the fans, and all our viewers and out there that like to watch DRL Live and be a part of everything we do on the DRL network. Be a part of the conversation. The link for our TeamSpeak 3 over in the Sim Racing Association TeamSpeak, where DRL calls home. Come in and jump in the waiting room. Be a part of the conversation here later on as we head toward our roundtable discussions and our Q&A segment. So a lot to get to here tonight for this loaded edition of DRL Live. A little under the weather here tonight myself and a little late on the going. So not quite as organized as usual, Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton. But I know, as always, you're Johnny on the spot down there. You got the link out for us just about an hour ago, and think you're all at the controls and ready to go. And I think we're going to be in for a jam-packed show this evening.
Yeah, I think I somewhat agree with you. I got barbecued chicken, roasted potatoes, and some green beans for dinner. And the weather down here in Florida is nice. I've been in flip-flop shorts and T-shirts all week and out on the airboat the past weekend. So I don't feel for you guys up north. Sorry.
And somebody else, Joe Allen joined us, Lord, in the booth tonight here, Todd, and we hear Rich talk about shorts and flip-flops. And I know, being a teammate to Joe and sharing a lot of time on the racetrack and talking to him all week, Joe Allen, sounds like the weather's been pretty nice in Las Vegas as well. And I'm sure you got no sympathy for us, but I can say Todd and I are jealous, my friend. Welcome to DRL Live, man. Good to have you here for the first time.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I know the majority of you are familiar with me behind the voice as we're calling races, but it's good to sit back and relax with the guys and put on a nice little fun radio show for all the fantastic viewers out there that support us week in and week out. And yeah, I'm there with Rich, guys. It's been a nice, cool 75 degrees the last couple of days, dipped down into the 60s, but you know what? That's still shorts and T-shirt weather, so if I wanted to live where it was snowing, then I would go live in the snow, but I don't want to live in the snow, so I'll take my 70 degrees over your guys' below freezing temperatures any day of the week.
Well, I'm certainly sure you would. And Todd, as we try to create some warmth to us here on the East Coast, let's dive straight into this weekly review, man. It's been about 2 weeks worth of stuff. Thanks to all our leagues out there that have submitted us to results and stuff we get to talk about. And of course, to submit your submission here to be a part of DRL Live. This is a show for the fans in the leagues, and we welcome all submissions. Send us an email. drlive@drlnetwork.com is how to get a hold of us and be a part of our weekly show here, DRL Live on the DRL Network. But Todd, let's dive straight into it with the weekly review. So I'm going to throw it to you first.
Yeah, I also want to say that it's very, very important, guys. And this show is based on results and stuff from your leagues. Very important to get those results. You can get them via the email address Phil just gave out. You can find one of us on Facebook, Todd Stanton on Facebook. You can find Joe Allen on Facebook, or even Phil, and we can collaborate and try to get that stuff together. But the weekly review now is Blazing Pedals, and thank you to Mr. Bobby Farrell for getting these results to me each and every week, Bobby. Blazing Pedal results from Monday Night Super Speedway Series at Coca-Cola Super Speedway. Derry Justice takes down the win. No surprise there. Justice, a guru just about at any track. Austin LaPlante finishing second. Tom Richter, Reaper making an appearance at Blazing Pedals, and Bruce Heil rounds out your top five. These are results from 1/30/2017 to 2/2/2017. Wednesday night Camping World Truck Series. For the brewery at Rockingham Motor Speedway, Taylor Morgans takes on the win. Jason Justice, Bruce Heil, Tom Richter, and Bobby Farrell rounding out the top five. The 7-Eleven Truck Series, one of its two maiden finishes here for the last hurrah here of Blazing Pedals as it becomes an SRA official series. We'll comment a little bit on this later on in the going. But Jason Justice takes down the win at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Derek Justice, Craig Meyer, Robert Balcom, and Bobby Farrell once again inside the top five. Then we go and shoot out to the Thursday Night Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, the 350. Jesse Klein takes down the win. Tom Richter second. Third was Sonny Tallman, Jay Schaefer, and Bruce Heil rounded out your top five. Blazing Pedals from 2-6 to 2-9. Monday Night Super Speedway Series hit the Daytona International Speedway, where Jeffrey McClintock took down the win. Bobby Farrell, Frankie Bennett, haven't heard that name in a while, Bruce Heil, and Austin LaPlante. Wednesday Night Camping World Truck Series. Running of the Bulls at Madrid Super Speedway. I have not actually been there, but Joe Allen has, and he took down the win. Joey the Jet here, live with us here on DRL Live, and he took down the win here Wednesday night in that Camping World Truck Series. Jason Justice running second. Third was Jeffrey McClintock, fourth Frankie Bennett, and Maverick Morrow rounded out your top five. The 7-Eleven Super Truck Series for the Coca-Cola 175 at Atlanta Motor Speedway results were not made final as of when Bobby Farrell got those to me, so I'm not sure who took down the wins in those series. Thursday night Sprint Cup Series at Homestead 140. Michael Berg taking down a win, and Michael Berg, we haven't heard of that name in a while. And finally, gracing victory lane here, Tom Richter, Jeffrey McClintock, Bruce Heil, and Jesse Klein rounded out your top five for Blazing Pedals. I'll get to some more results, but I know, Phil, you're chomping at the bit for your results.
I got a great write-up, I think, as we all did, from Chris Rodgers over to Excel, and we're going to be over to Excel here with DRTV in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait to get over back to see Chris and all the gang over there. But sending some great stuff here from a couple of weeks ago. It was Mr. Six-Time Kyle Lawson taking down the checker flag at the Mr. Rotor Plumbing 100 at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl. Lawson started from the pole, led 90 of 100 laps to take down the win. Chris Rodgers finished up in that second spot. He was the only other lead driver to lead laps. He led 10 of those laps, as we said. Third place, Chet Dillenbeck. Todd Kolpitz finished up fourth, and rounding out the top five was Corey Rogers. The Excel Cup Series rolled to the track, too tough to tame at the Darlington Raceway. It was Dennis Chambers taking down the win, paying, fuel mileage game of paying off. He'll take down the win. It was Chris Rodgers laying claim to the 2016 off-season Excel Cup Series championship, his third championship there, as he was in a great battle with Father Steve, who he right down to the wire. So great run by them. Congratulations to Chris on the championship, but it was Dennis taking down the win at Darlington. The eighth and final race of the off-season ARCA Series saw Dan Hansen put his Superman DC Ford into victory lane at Iowa Speedway. Hansen started from the pole, led 81 of 100 laps en route. It was also, again, same token here, the Excel off-season ARCA Series champion was Chris Rodgers once again. Also, Chris laying claim this week to the Acme 100 win at the Lanier Raceway. Sorry, they're stumbling over these results here as I'm just reading up, down. Chris Rodgers taking down the win at Lanier. Chet Dillenbeck finishing up in that second spot, but it looks like, guys, sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through here as he made a great write-up. Kyle Lawson third. Steve Rodgers was fourth, and I believe it was Andrew Hertz running out the top five. I think I got that out of order there. Look, it was Hertz second, Lawson third, and Steve Rodgers running out the top five there. After 5 races, Kyle Lawson holds a slim 5-point lead over defending 4-time champion Chris Rodders. Chet Dellenbeck sits third, Steve Rodders fourth in points, and Dennis Chambers currently rounds out your top 5. Excel had a great week of racing this last week, Todd. We'll hope to get the results here next week. They had the Stars Modified Series at the Star Speedway in Epping, New Hampshire, a great racetrack. The Danoskins Pro Cup Series was at Toledo last week. Cannot wait to hear from Chris and all the guys at Excel. And like we said, we're going to be back over to see them guys at Excel in a couple of weeks here live on DRTV. And I know I'm chomping at the bit, Todd, to go back and see Chris and all the guys over there.
Yeah, always a great place to go over there to the Excel Racing Stable and go over there and run. I ran some dirt with them last season, the KOD series, and that was a fun time over there. I haven't got a chance to get back over there with life permitting. I'll get back over there and run with those guys. But I know Joe has some awesome results from FTF. They put together a qualifying event, and I believe it was 76 guys attempted to make it into the duels. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, that is correct, Todd. I have the fortunate to go over there and compete at FTF as well. Arguably one of the largest leagues, a part of the Sim Racing Association, and a lot of hype around the upcoming 2017 season over for those guys. But you nailed it. We had qualifying for the CJ First Candle Daytona 500, which will take place in 2 weeks on February 26th, guys. We had 76 drivers show up and turn a qualifying lap. I think they had close to 90 signups, I believe, is how many guys they had signed up for this 2017 season. Over 76 drivers attempted to make a lap. That's phenomenal. That's insane to have that many guys show up and turn a lap, and a lot of different sponsorship opportunities that have been thrown out over there. But congratulations, obviously, will go out to Taylor Morgans. He took the honorable the first annual Crush Pole Award at Daytona, guys. So he has locked himself into the field, and to his outside, and his dancing partner for the Daytona 500 in 2 weeks is that number 9 of Brandon Lawson. Respectively, those two guys, Taylor turned a lap of 47.281. Brandon Lawson turned a lap of 47.282. So very, very close as far as how that's as far as those times for those two drivers. And as I said, those two have guaranteed their spot into the show. And the 3rd through 6th drivers, that being Derek Justice, David Day, Corey Carpenter, and Jordan Buster, if they, for whatever reason, find themselves being in an elimination spot in the duels, they can rely on their qualifying times as well to get themselves into the field if necessary. But beyond that, the duels this upcoming Sunday, guys, will be split into 2 separate duel races. The top 15 finishers from both of those races will be locked into the event in 2 weeks on February 26th. And pending, the guys that are already locked in, if they manage to advance to their position in the duel, the remainder of the field is going to be filled with the fastest remaining qualifiers. There will be a champions provisional if necessary, a sponsor provisional if necessary, and I believe that is going to be it as far as filling, and it'll also rely on their 2016 owners points. So definitely big things happening over at FTF for those guys. The full breakdown and list of qualifying times posted for those guys is available on their Facebook page, as well as signups and everything else that you need to know about that league. So be sure to follow them on Facebook if you need to acquire all that information for that. But Todd, I think you got some more results for the next league that we have that submitted some information for us.
Oh, indeed, I do. And after I go through the Maniac Racing racing stable here over in the Sim Racing Association, I'll go through those guys next. We're going to throw it down to Phil, and I know Phil has some more interesting tidbits here, and Phil will go right after me. But Maniac Racing, Columbia BP, Jacob Lee taking down the win. Jason Klein finishing second. Tim Haney is third. Fourth was Stephen Gallagher, and fifth was Mike. In another race there, we had Antonio Irvin, who's won quite a few races over there, Jeff Kincaid, Larry Gotes, Bobby Refuse, and Ben Simons. And for Monday 4-banger series is the Antonio Irvin. You got Jeff Kincaid, Larry Gotes, Bobby Refuse, and Ben Simons. That was Maniac Racing, and hopefully we can get some more groups in here from Maniac Racing. He's been trying real hard. Joe Bishop out there in the chat box, I know he's out there. Give a shout out to him. A lot of guys out in the chat box, they've been making that thing scroll. See that they're down there trying to make a drinking game out of this, Joe and Phil. Maybe sometime we could join them in, and I think Rich wouldn't mind here either. I think the drinking game would be fun in that chat box. But Nightbot is having his way with some of those guys down in that chat box. They're testing his patience. But Phil, I know you have an interesting tidbit out there.
I do. We got a little blurb here from our friend Ray Hewlick over at Afterburner Motorsports, and he wants to spread the word. The Afterburner Motorsports Racing League kicks off its 2017 racing season on Sunday, February 19th, in their Cup Series at the Daytona International Speedway, and that all of their series are in action beginning this coming week. So check out our friends at Afterburner Motorsports. Get a hold of Ray Hewlick. Look up the Afterburner guys on Facebook. Multiple nights of racing. Great stuff they do. Multiple different mods, and I'm sure the 2017 season is going to be a complete loaded one. So check out Ray and all the guys at Afterburner Motorsports, guys. And Joe, Afterburner, a great league. I know I ran a lot of laps there years ago when I first started at my beginning. So good to see them guys still going.
Yeah, definitely. I know they've been around for quite some time. I've been around the community for 10 years now. I've never actually had the pleasure of going over there and running some laps over there, but still good to see all those kind of old leagues that have been around for all these years that are still kicking strong, Phil. And I would love to go over there and turn a couple laps with those guys and go have some fun with those guys and get a little bit of a different atmosphere and aspect of, how some of these different leagues are ran. But let's continue on with the results, guys. I've caught up. I got the write-ups here for Extreme Motorsports. That's the league ran by Frank Divins with assistance with Greg Lovell and Dan Lovell. So starting up next, we have the Monday Night Winston Cup 90 Series. Davey Hazard won their Sears Die Hard 125. Jerry Walters was second place. Joey DeMann, our good friend, finished third. Greg Lovell and Frank Divins finished up fifth there. For their Tuesday Extreme Muscle Car Late Model Series, Robert Bauckham was our winner in the Foo City 100. Davey Hazard finished second, guys. Frank Divins was third. Jerry Walters was fourth. And Joseph Weaver rounded out the top five for that race. And up next, their Thursday Night Extreme Super Speedway Truck Series. Definitely gaining some popularity over there, seeing some good numbers show up for that series over there. Tommy Bordeaux was the winner of that race. They raced at the famous Daytona BP race. Always provides some good racing guys. Our friend Randall Coleman finished second. Jerry Walters was third. Joey DeMann was fourth. And Ryan Pace rounded out the top five.
Great to see Extreme Motorsports. They always send us in results week in and week out. Frank Devins and all those guys out there. It's nice to see those guys be so active inside the community here in NASCAR 2003. But we're going to go outside the community, which just shows all about everything sim racing and beyond. And we're going to go to iRacing, and this is only one iRacing submission that we have. I would like to see some iRacing guys get out there. I'd like to see some R Factor, set a course. This is all about the racing community, the sim racing community. But we have Bohica, and it's an iRacing right here in front of us. Round 6 of 13 street stocks at Charlotte once again. At night in Canada is going to be at Chicagoland Speedway. And right now the point standings as of now for street stocks: Gerald West 256, Jason Andrus 234, Adam Helm has got 221. Michael Massey is getting beat by Adam. So Michael, this is a challenge. You shouldn't let Adam beat you. John Wimbish is fifth. And the K&N Cup Series, Adam Helm leading that with 244. Only 8 points separating him and John Wimbish is got 236. Gerald West got 227, so really tight. Then Jason Andrus with 214, and Jared Morgan with 128. All are welcome. Always have fun. Caution-free races. Come check them out. And do not miss out on some of the clean racing that they got going on there. It's bohicaracing.blogspot.com. And as he says, Adam Hellman, I've heard this saying many of times, but come get some at the Bohica Racing stables. Again, bohicaracing.blogspot.com. That's our only iRacing league that we have here, and it's only one that's outside of the NASCAR Racing 2003 community. But I'd like to see some more guys out there bring in some results from different types of simulation games.
Oh, absolutely. And you can make those submissions to our email, drlive@drlnetwork.com is how any league out there can make their submissions to be a part of the weekly review, week after week, a part of DRL Live. But moving back into the NASCAR 2003 results here, the newest member of the Sim Racing Association, the Fast Racing League, they sent us a couple of blurbs here from the February the 6th. The Fast Sunday Wannabes Classic Cup Series invaded the Daytona International Speedway. It was Ricky Collette picking up the win, Tommy Bordeaux, Colby Martin, Sean Whitehill, and Rex Tisch running at the top five. Moving over to a great week here from Fast. A couple more results for you. But the Crush exhibition at Atlanta was run on Sunday. I believe it was 2-8. I believe that would be Sunday night. I was part of that race as well. Big hats off to all those guys at Fast. Did a great job this week. Tommy Bordeaux picking up the win Sunday night at Atlanta. Davey Hazard, Sean Whitehill, Ryan Pace, and Randall Coleman running out the top 5. And also the Classic Cup Series ran one night ago, also at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. All open setup racing, which is a great guy. If you guys never done it, check these guys out at Fast. These guys do some fantastic open setup racing. But last night, it was Sean Romero picking up the win in a great run, a great green flag run to the end there. I believe last 60 laps on the green. It was Davey Hazard finishing up second, Ricky Collette third, Joseph Weaver fourth, and some guy named Phil LaCash, Joe Allen, finished up in the 5th spot last night. And I'm not sure even I can believe that. Open setup racing at Atlanta, knowing my upserts and how I've driven this community, can you believe I bring an open setup series home in the top 5, Joe? I'm still in kind of shock.
Hey, I just want to, we already discussed this, Phil. We said we found your knack. You might not be the best at fixed setup racing, but give you an open setup and let you tweak on it for the, an entire amount of an event, and you can do some special things with it. And you've proven yourself the last 2 weeks that you've been over there and done it. So I'm impressed. Good for you. That's awesome that you've been able to do that. And I decided to go ahead and look up the results for Insomniac, guys. I'm only going to give the Super Speedway Challenge Series results. I know they have mutts, but I was only able to get the Super Speedway Challenge Series, so we'll cover those for the last 2 weeks real quick. Our friend Scott Geiswhite in the 47 ended up taking the race win at Talladega. That was back on Friday, February 3rd, 2 weeks ago. Followed by Grant Wesley, Davey Hazard, Joey Murphy. Chris Hart rounded out the top 5 there. The following week on February 2nd, they went to Daytona International Speedway. Rick Moon was your race winner. I believe that's Rick's first win over there this season, so congratulations to Rick Moon. Awesome run by him. Good to see him get himself into victory lane. Fellow Team Crush racer Blake McCandless, he came out 2nd place there. Tristan Hagenstein was 3rd. Corey Carpenter 4th. And Ricky Collette rounded out your top 5 there for the Insomniac Super Speedway Challenge Series. I believe they have 2 races remaining in their seasons, guys. And it's a pretty tight points battle up front. Their point structure is very meticulous in showing up for races and finishing well. I mean, they award, I believe it's 42 points to the winner of the race, and it goes down the ladder from there. So if you have one bad week and your competitors have a good week, guys, it certainly shakes up points. Right now, Derek Justice is your points leader with 2 events left. Ricky Collette, 1 point behind. Chris Hart is 8 points behind. Myself, Joe Allen, I'm 9 points behind, and Sean Whitehill is 12. Tristan Hagenstein is 35. So those top 6 guys are separated by, less than 20 points, essentially there, which is really, really close. So 2 more events over there. Anything can happen in these last 2 shakeups. So let's throw it back to Todd real quick and finish up our results here.
I got a quick blurb from Zach Buchanan at IRL. Late model race at Irwindale. Matt Wishart took down the victory on February 10th for IRL, and it was a great race. It looked like they had quite a few cars in there. It's a great race on Friday night. It's a before Insomniac Super Speedway Series, and those guys have had pretty heavy fields, and I'm surprised Derek Justice didn't take down the win there. Derek's been dominant lately at our IORL, Phil. Derek's pretty good with those late models and them short tracks.
Oh, he is certainly no slouch. I believe he was on a 3-in-a-row winning streak there until that just got snapped here a couple of nights ago. But I'm sure we know Derek. He's a short track guy. Frankly, he's up for anything you put him in. So I'm sure we'll see him back in victory lane over here in the next couple of weeks. But moving on over to the TDR Racing stable, guys. I believe this may be the last we have here as part of this week's weekly review. Last week, the Super Speedway Series finished up the season to give Kids the World 150 at the Daytona International Speedway. It was newcomer Grant Wesley taking down the win at TDR. Chris Hart, Brandon Hawken, Isaac Johnson, and Craig Meyer rounding out the top 5 by way of a solid finish finish. It was a struggle of a night as far as the tore-up race car, but Frank Divins was able to claim the 2017 Winter Series Superspeedway Championship over at TDR's. Congratulations to Frank. He had a great run, kept his nose clean most of the year, and able to take down yet another championship at TDR. And moving over, one last result from a TDR Super Dirt Series they ran this past week. It was Bruce Heil taking down the checkered flag over the high-side hustler, Martin Karch. A big upset there on the dirt. Bruce taking down his first win of the year. Martin will finish second. Kelly Horner third. John Wall fourth. And Scott Geiswhite rounding out your top five. DRTV going to be back over to TDR in a couple of weeks as far as the opener for the Apple Collision Center Premier Cup Series, formerly the DRTV Premier Cup Series. That'll be on Saturday night, February the 25th. Open to all drivers to come in and race. You need to go over and register now at the TDR Racing website. And also from TDR today, a blurb going out. The rule book for 2017 getting a little bit of a facelift. So check out all the great stuff there. 5 nights a week of racing starting off this week over at TDR. And I know there's a lot of great stuff going on there. A little, Pro Truck Series coming up Thursday night. Joe Allen, I know you have a big involvement in it. I can't wait to see where TDR goes this winter. This spring. We had a lot of great racing coming out over there.
Oh, I completely agree. I just want to thank TDR for the opportunity for myself and Blake McCandless. We're debuting the annual TDR Pro Truck Series on Thursday nights. This week on Thursday, the 16th, is going to be our first event at Daytona International Speedway. We're actually giving away 2 prizes to that event. The winner is going to receive $15 courtesy of my co-administrator Blake McCandless, and then Scott Geiswhite with Geiswhite Creations. He and his wife do these custom coffee mugs with some designs on them, and he's going to give away one of the mugs to the winner. And then we have a couple other special announcements for later on in the season. We're going to wait. We're going to make you guys wait so you stick around and you follow the series. But we have some cool things in store. I will say that the champion of the annual TDR Pro Truck Series will receive a trophy at the end of the segment. So make sure to tune in, head over to tdrracing.net to get yourself signed up for that series, and we look forward to having everybody come out.
Todd, I believe you had one more blurb here as far as just wrapping up the loose ends here of the weekly review. So go ahead.
Well, we didn't. We covered Extreme and we covered some of the things, but Frank did. We forgot to mention that the Extremes Monday Xfinity Series is going to use the new NASCAR stage scoring system in their Season 1 segment. They're going to see how it works through that, and if anybody follows NASCAR, some of us have our little qualms about what's going to go on with this new system that they got that they're going to come out. I'm not a big fan of it myself, and I know there's quite a few people that aren't fans of this new system. But I guess they're trying to appease to the younger generations that don't understand racing and what's going on and what it's all about. But a lot of us do understand it. Also, Sim Racing Association 7-Eleven's Truck Series, that's coming up real soon, Phil, and that's going to be a big headline series here in the Sim Racing Association. And there's a lot of things that are down the pike for that. And I know that's going to be a broadcasted event live here on DRTV. So that's going to be interesting to watch all those guys. I know signups are open for that, and it's going to be interesting. Also, Sim Racing Association, guys, there's some new things on the website. If you got some time, head on over to simracingassociation.com and make sure you sign up there. There's some interesting community things that are involved on that website, simracingassociation.com. Make sure you guys all hurry up, go over there, sign up, and shoot, try to break the site on our webmaster out there, DD Designs, and watch them and make them work a little bit. But go sign up, see what other new attractive features are out there on simracingassociation.com.
Well, a great looking website indeed, and a great job, you guys, on the weekly review. I know we had about 2 weeks worth of stuff, and thanks to all our leagues out there for being part of this week's weekly review. And of course, you can be a part of it each and every week by dropping us a quick email to DRL Live at DRLnetwork.com. Send race results, recaps, schedules, or any kind of news and information you'd like to get out to all the drivers out there. And it doesn't matter where you come from and what platform, NR 2003, R Factor, iRacing, Project Cars, Assetto Corsa, and beyond. If you like it, we want to talk about it. We want to advertise it for you and get the word out and spread awareness. So, of course, drop us a line, DRL Live at DRLnetwork.com. And Rich, it's been a great weekly review, but I know you're chomping at the bit to transition us over to our next segment. And, of course, that's the speed round.
Yeah, I am. And I know we discussed a little bit of this earlier, but I'm going to throw a monkey wrench at you. We're not going to do 3. We're going to do 4 tonight. And to start off the speed rounds, round number 1, we're going to go with intentional wrecking. What is your guys' thoughts on intentional wrecking? Time starts now.
I think if it's warranted and the driver that gets intentionally wrecked did something to warrant it, then fair game.
Wow, that blunt and simple. If it warranted it, fair game. Intentional wrecking. I mean, that's a slippery slope, and I'm not sure where to attack this from. I'm going to attack this the only way I know how. That's probably from the admin chairs, race director at my home league at TDR. I know we talk a lot about them. We've covered them a lot over the years, but that is where I call my home league and where I do a lot of my racing. Do a lot from the admin chair, eye in the sky and running these things. And intentional wrecking to me, I mean, it's usually pretty cut and dry. You can kind of get a glimpse of what goes on the racetrack and see if maybe somebody may be just a little upset with somebody, and intentional wrecking is usually pretty clear. Somebody wants to just drive them, take you out. I mean, I guess, Todd, it's one of those things that happen, but I'm not a fan of intentionally wrecking. I can't remember my years of 9 years of being a sim racer if I've ever actually went out with the intent to wreck somebody. I know I've thought about it, but I'm not sure I've actually ever done it. But I don't know. As far as intentional wrecking, to me, it's a big no-no. It doesn't even enter my mind.
Well, I have to go. Intentional wrecking is something that a lot of sim racers, I've seen it out there on the track. You can make it not look obvious, but it's still going to be a little bit obvious. The guy that's wrecked you, you know that you're door banging them, or you know that you're actually spinning them out, and I've been on that aspect of intentional wrecking where I've let my temper get the best of me. And I tell you what, I sat out for, I can't believe if it was a month and a half. And then I had a 3-hour conversation that I can remember with the league admin about intentional wrecking and what the things were going on and why I shouldn't take people out over the fence and out of the ballpark. But I won't get into that story. But that was interesting. And that was my view on intentional wrecking. It's just something that I don't think it's warranted. I mean, you could go up there, rev up your engine next to somebody. I do that at the local dirt track. If I'm pissed off at somebody, they rub me the wrong way. I'll go up there and let them know. Maybe I'll even flip them the bird and let them know that they're number one in my book and do something to that effect. But never would I use my car as a weapon out there at the real track. And I try to run to the same philosophy. I may rub doors with you. I may chop you a little bit. But I'm not going to sit there and intentionally wreck you. I'm not. I mean, it's different if it's going across the start-finish line. It's checkered flag, and I drive into you. That's not intentional wrecking. That's me being me, and it's a sim racing game, and it's just something about having fun, guys. So, I've been on that aspect, and I've sat out for weeks because of intentional wrecking. I don't know how else to police it from the admin chair. I don't like to see it.
And Rich, as a guy who's been mad enough to want to wreck you a lot of times, I've never been able to catch you. But what are your thoughts on intentional wrecking?
I don't think it's needed in the sim community, and I obviously don't think it's needed in real racing as well. I think it causes more damage, more money spent, unneeded, dues or whatever, but also could cause injury in real world. Sim world, I think it's a bad sign of a driver that can't keep his cool under tough situations. I don't think that it's needed and warranted. And I know back when I ran my leagues, it was not allowed. And if you ever got intentional wrecking, you could get banned from the league as well. So I'm a firm believer that this is not the place for intentional wrecking. Just my views. But with that said, we're going to move on to round number 2. Round number 2, speed round topic is going to be starting grids. Is double file better or single file better? Or just let the game dictate it? Time starts now.
Well, I'll take that one first. And this is something that has grown on me over time, but for a long time, I was stickler. I mean, yes, a lot of what we do is NR 2003. I mean, it's an old game, but I for years, just be the one to let the game police itself. I mean, it may not be perfect. It may not be updated, but, I mean, the game, as imperfect as it may be, it does a pretty dang good job of policing it. But just until recently, I've swung the pendulum over to double file restarts. I think it brings the realism of what they do today in the NASCAR Monster Energy Series and, all that stuff the NASCAR Touring Series all do. I think it's a cool new wrinkle. It certainly brings some drama to as far as what restarts go, as far as the kind of positions you can make up on a restart. And granted at some of these tracks we run at nowadays, the grip levels can go up so high, and you can carry some tremendous rates of speed. And especially in a fixed setup, sometimes you just can't make a pass on somebody. So sometimes the restarts are your best times to try to pounce on somebody in game position. So I think I've come to the side of a double fire restarts, Joe, and I think you probably agree with me, knowing I think how you feel on this.
I am a huge proponent of double file restarts, and I believe it was actually me that had that discussion with you to change to double file restarts over at TDR Racing. But with that being said, I also understand that there are some instances where double file restarts simply don't work. If you run a setup that's too loose and you consistently have cautions on your restarts from guys getting into one another, I understand the philosophy of going now back to single file restarts to at least have the remainder of your race have some sort of green flag laps and allow the guys to get spread out and make your meticulous moves from there on if need be. But I think the idea of double file restarts in leagues running double file restarts actually creates a lot of excitement, and it gets guys to come out there and actually race. Nobody likes single file restarts. I think I can talk for the majority of us as racers. This is going, beyond being an admin, because obviously as an admin, single file restarts is a lot easier to police. Double file restarts makes it a little more difficult with how the game rules and stuff work. So, I'm a firm believer from a racer standpoint that double file restarts does a lot more from a racer's perspective of making it a lot more entertaining and fun than it doesn't.
Todd, your thoughts?
Double file restarts, I like them. As a racing aspect, I like them even more. I've seen some great racing, whether it be sim racing or real racing. I know some of the crate racers in real racing have double file restarts all the way to the checkered flag, though. That makes for some interesting racing. Double file restarts. They got Delaware double file restarts. I can throw a monkey wrench into that. That's an interesting thing. Leader out in the front row all by himself, so he can go high or low or do whatever he wants to. Second place and third place are actually doubled up behind him. That's another interesting thing for like the dirt series that we have out there. Some people like it, some people don't. But I tell you, double file restarts, I love it, and I have to echo you guys. I mean, single file restarts is so much easier to police as an admin. But double file restart, that's where it is. That makes the racing interesting. And seeing those guys going to the corner, it gives them one last shot, maybe at a victory that they may have not had in a single file restart.
Well, I want to hear our viewers' thoughts on this topic tonight, or any topic we talk about here in the Speed Round. We welcome them to all be a part of the conversation by joining us at the Sim Racing Association TeamSpeak, the IP listed on your screen. Anybody feel free to drop on into the waiting room down just below us here in the race channel, and we'll drag you into the conversation as part of our roundtable discussion and, of course, our Q&A session here later on. But, Rich, we were talking about the single file versus double file restarts, and are you going to make this a consensus? I know you're an old school guy. I think you're going to be on a limb on this one.
No, I don't know. I mean, I usually just follow whatever the game does, but I like the concept of the double file restart. And, I know through DRTV we broadcasted quite a few different leagues that are running the double file restarts, and they do it very successfully. I think it's probably something that all drivers have to be on the same page to make sure that, everybody's going to do it right. And once you get regular drivers that are doing that consistently, then it's probably not that big of a deal. So that's going to sum up this speed round already. Had to make it short and sweet because we're getting down below 20 seconds now. But that's going to push us into our next topic. And it's kind of on the same path, having to do with restarts. When you start your league events, how many restarts, if you even allow a restart, would you do? What's the limit on restarting a race? Time starts now.
Well, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to run with it for a minute. I think I'm a firm believer of no restarts. If you want a simulation, you can't reset your car. Damage, maybe you're coming off the grid and you blow a gear. There's a reason why you blow a gear when you're coming off the grid. There's a reason. There's a reason why maybe you pop the motor. And sometimes, wrecks happen in the first two laps. I don't think that warrants a restart. I mean, I could get through that first wreck, okay, and I'm perfectly fine. the second time when they've restarted races before, or anybody for that matter has restarted races, I don't make it through that wreck. So where does it benefit me? So I'm thinking right now that I think that we should actually uh, have no restart. There should be no restart rule in a simulation game. I mean, you can't reset your life, reset it in real life. You can't reset it all. So I mean, where does it warrant a restart in a simulation game, and how far can you go with it? But I'm going to throw it to Joe, and I know Joe is really geared up for this.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on you because I like being the bad guy sometimes. So let's say theoretically you and me are in the same race. Let's say theoretically that same wreck you just talked about that you got through was as a result of you plowing into me and ruining my night. Why shouldn't I get a restart for you running into me and ruining my night even though you got through unscathed?
Well, that's part of racing, Joe. It really is. It's, sometimes I plow it. Sometimes if you get plowed into, it is going to be a great discussion for a round table. I'll tell you right now. But I plowed into you, so why should you be restarted? If I did that in real life and I plowed into you, technically this is a game. So I mean, you don't get damaged as well as you do in real life. But if I plowed into you in real life like that, I would have some sort of damage. But then again, I still don't think there should be a restart.
Well, I'll carry on that, and I think back to, I think of it in real life terms. Besides the one time, and I think everybody remember this one because I do, because I think it was the most bizarre and stupid thing I've ever seen. But think back to a NASCAR All-Star race. I'm not sure what year this was, but it was probably about 20 years ago at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. There was a rain shower, just at the green flag of the race, and all the cars went down to the turn one, and they all piled up and, tore up most of the field. And NASCAR, to their credit, being a non-points race, they allowed all these guys to run back to the trailers, unload a backup car, and restart the race as brand new. Well, I guess we have that benefit in the sim racing community, but I'm a firm believer of this, and something I emphasized here, with the meeting behind the scenes we had as far as stuff at TDR this past week, but no restarts. I mean, if the green flag falls on a race, I mean, if you've got just the bad luck of being wrecked on the opening lap of the race, take your medicine. Go on. I mean, it's only a game, but if you arbitrarily want to restart a lap in, 2 laps, and I've even seen restarts for some leagues go as far as like 6 laps in, that's a little overboard. But who's to say you don't wreck 3 or 4 times, and restart for all, then maybe the 5th time you say, okay, no more, there's a wreck, and you don't restart for this guy. That could certainly rub somebody the wrong way and could really hurt some feelings. I think as a league, you're playing favorites, but I think it's definitely a stance we're going to take at my home league this year as far as this, but no restarts. When that green flag drops, I mean, it's race time. I mean, I guess if something were to happen as far as a wreck leaving pit road, somebody, has some kind of issue, I can see resetting on the grid. But as far as, green, as soon as the green flag drops, no restarts. Do you agree, Rich?
I come at that from different angles. So, I'm a firm believer that no, we shouldn't have restarts. And I don't do that because I want to be mean to people that can't show up on time, or I want to be mean to people that make a mistake and they wreck out of the race. But from a broadcaster's point of view, with all the data collection programs I have running for our live broadcast for tickers and stats and all that good stuff, restarting a race completely throws that all out of whack. So therefore our data wouldn't be correct for the rest of the race. And that's one reason why DRTV in general always has the rule in our broadcast that there are no restarts. And I think, being a televised race with no restarts, it makes people calm down a little bit. And I think if you can get your drivers calm, then the restart issue goes out the window and you never have to do them anyway. So, I think it's just a mindset, and I don't think it's the right thing to do because, you give somebody an inch and they take a mile. That's the way it always works in anything you do. And that's my 2 cents for that. I don't believe restarts are a necessary thing. But with that, that's going to finish this section of the round table, or this section of the speed round. And unlike the Grammys last night, we're not going to restart that topic. So we'll move on to the next topic, like Adele did in her song. I don't know who watched it, but anyway, the next topic is going to be kind of outside the box tonight, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys. And I get this one basically from watching all the different feeds on Facebook. So the question is, or the topic is, politics and business. Should they even be in the same sentence? Should a business owner do what's right for their business regardless of what's going on in politics? You know, I guess I'm saying, who's got a right to voice about politics? The professional, or I don't know, just politicians? Time starts now.
Man, that's a loaded question. And for a sim racing show, I don't know even where to go with that if we're talking real world sense. I almost kind of wish I can punt. But when it comes down to politics versus business, I think one needs to stay out of the other. Yes, of course, the happenings, what you can do on a political landscape can certainly influence what happens as far as businesses, as far as the tax code or something and profit sharing, all this and that. But I, for one, usually stay neutral, and I certainly wish I was feeling better this evening because I'm sure it's a subject we can go on here for quite a while, knowing we have here in time constraints. So, Rich, you pull this one out fast on me to make my blood go up even more. But I'm going to punt as far as a long-winded discussion here, but I know somebody in the room who certainly no worse for the wear in formula stuff, very wise beyond his years. But, Joe Allen, I'm going to let you take this one and run.
Yeah, for those though that don't know me too much, I am a political science major actually in school. So this is kind of down my alleyway a little bit, and I am all for the deregulation of government having too many affairs as far as how business goes, whether it be small or large. Now, I understand that government has to play some role based on what Phil has said. There's tax codes that need to be, materialized, and, there's regulations that do need to be there. There's, profit sharing. There's all those things. But at the end of the day, government still has to remain small enough to where it doesn't overstep its boundaries. Because the problem with government overstepping its boundaries is where you have these large regulations that come into play that affect these businesses. It affects their bottom lines. It affects their ability to go out and hire employers. It affects their ability to import or export products. And as a result, you have your effect on your overall economy. And if you have government that is too large, you start to have impacts that simply don't work. And you can have, as much of an opinion on how a socialist government is run and a capitalist government and, all of these type of governments, and you can have all your opinions and statistical data, but the fact of the matter is the bigger the government is, the worse off your economy and regulation is. That's just, that is material facts. It's backed up by statistical research, and that's how it goes. So as far as me and government and business goes, to keep this short, because like Phil said, we could go on and on for this for hours and hours on end, and I know we've been known to do it, on our late nights that we've all spent together up talking. The end bottom line is government, while it needs to play a role in how business is regulated, it needs to be a very, very small role. It can't be too big, but it can't be too small, because if it's too small, businesses are going to get away with robbing the lower and the middle class citizen. That it's human nature. That's all it is.
All right. Well, speaking of things that may be too big to fail, Mr. Too Tall Todd Stanton, the floor is all yours.
And I'm going to defer.
All right, Rich. He's punted just as I would do, but I know you're fired up on this topic. I know the chat box has been lively on this one, so I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, and I got to give a hats off to Charles out there, because Charles couldn't have said it any better, and it's exactly what I was thinking. You see so much stuff on Facebook about Sears and Kmart. I guess they're combined or whatever. It's a failing business anyway. You're always hearing about, they're closing more stores, shutting down more stores, and I guess, Sears sold off Craftsman, so I don't know what else they got to sell anyway. But the whole point of that is is it right for a business to try to boycott something politically? What does their business even have to do with politics? So I think it's wrong, but like Charles mentioned in the chat box, if you don't like it, just don't shop there, and they'll eventually close all their stores and we won't care anymore. I just think it's funny, and it's no different than Hollywood doing the same thing, trying to boycott things or whatever. It's just, leave politics as politics. That's all I'm saying. And it's just getting stupid anymore, I think. So hats off to Charles. He hit the nail on the head in the chat box.
Well, and speaking on the front, of business and politics, I know of certain business like Kmart were to fail, the politics of it says I have a feeling that DRTV may see a lot more programming, but that's neither here nor there. It's a good tongue-in-cheek joke behind the scenes, and I can hear Todd falling over in my ear. So it is all good, but that round, that will take a wrap on this week's edition of the Speed Round. Rich throwing out 4 topics to us this week as part of the Speed Round. He snuck a couple in there past us. So we invite our viewers now, open it up to all of you to be part of all the roundtable discussion, a part of any of these topics we've talked about here tonight, and maybe even open up, stuff to any other stuff to be part of the discussion. Join us now in the Sim Racing Association Team Speak. The IP is on your screen. All viewer feedback is all welcome. Anything you'd like to discuss here. And a lot of leagues out there have their seasons getting underway here in the next couple of weeks. So anything you'd like to talk about, come on into the Team Speak, drop down to the waiting room, and we'll drag you in to be a part of the conversation this week as part of DRL Live and, of course, the weekly review. Get your submissions in now for next week's show by sending us an email to drlive@drlnetwork.com and have your stuff featured on the weekly review. And, of course, our flagship guys, DRTV on the DRL Network, live race broadcasting, flag-to-flag coverage. Get the 4 of us over to your place. Find us at drlnetwork.com. Book your league now. Great event broadcast rates, custom fit to all your league's needs out there. And we'd love to come over and showcase all the great stuff you've got going on. And I know the next couple of weeks, guys, we got so many great stuff coming up. We make trips over to Excel Racing, Hobo Racing, TDR Racing, just to name a few. The SRA 711 Truck Series also on the docket. The All-Star Racing Group. We're going to go over there and broadcast a couple of races for David Chin and Gary Mingus and those guys over at ASR. Cannot wait to go over there, a new client for us. So much great racing coming on up here in the next couple of weeks. The full schedule located at our website, drlnetwork.com. And Todd, I'm not sure we'll be going over some here, but I know we're going to be super, super busy here the next couple of weeks. And, it's the calm before the storm, as we would say, and things are about to get busy.
Things are definitely going to get busy on DRTV and DRL Live, and we're just waiting to see see if anybody comes in here for the round table and see if anybody comes into TeamSpeak. If anybody wants to discuss anything, like Phil was saying, just come on in. We'll get you in the round table, and you can be on the talk show as we're just going and seeing what's going on. But I don't know, Joe, you have anything to add to this round table? I know you had a few things that you wanted to say in those speed rounds, and you couldn't just quite get it out.
Going back to let's go back to our restarting the race. And I can play devil's advocate all day long, but at the end of the day, I think obviously it's going to fall in the league's hands to determine whether or not they want to allow restarts. And while we're all here to be competitors and we run simulations for a reason, we want to simulate the real life thing. So I completely understand why the majority of us don't actually want races to restart, because I'm the same way. I just like playing devil's advocate. But I agree. I do this because I want realism, and in realism for the most part, with the exception of some of our exterior examples, such as the All-Star race when it rained and they put all the cars out there and they wrecked them. Then that's an exterior circumstance. It happens. But at the same time, beyond that, there's really not many instances where something like that has happened. But at the same time, I think we have to remember that this is a game. While we're here for realism, there's a lot of guys out here that come to do this for fun because they enjoy it. They don't do it to come out here and be hardcore racers. There's guys that come out here that run 25th place, and they don't have a problem running 25th place because they're having a blast and they enjoy it. And how do you justify that to somebody who comes out here for fun, that gets taken out at the very beginning of the race on the first lap in the first corner, who comes out here to enjoy themselves? I think it just depends on the league and the drivers that you have in your league. There's some leagues out there that don't take things seriously. They just go out to have fun, enjoy each other's company, have a few beers during the race, and just enjoy themselves. And then there's those other leagues that are very serious. They have a set rule book. They have a set way they do their points, and, they have competitions. They give out trophies. I understand that. If you want to be realistic with that and you don't want to have restarts in a series like that, of course, you know what? That makes complete sense. I am completely for that. But for some of these other leagues with guys that come out here just to enjoy themselves, enjoy the company of others, have fun, kind of a laxed and relaxed environment, then yeah, if you need to restart a race, once or twice to allow these guys to come out and, put in the time to race and just enjoy themselves, then I think that's completely appropriate.
Rich, I think you wanted to chime in, so I'm going to let you have the floor.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, talking about the whole restarting issue, and I get it. I get what you guys are saying, but those who know me or have raced around me for many, many years, and all the time I ran my league, I really didn't like to do restarts, but we did do it if, people let us know they were coming later, what have you. But here's my thinking. On a restart, I'm the type of driver that I will just follow the guy in front of me. And I'm not going to try to do anything. I got a whole race ahead of me, so I don't want to hit him. I'm not going to set up the guy behind me to hit me, so I go really fast, and then I got to jump on the brakes to avoid the guy in front of me. And next thing you know, there's a slinky effect going on, and it jacks the whole field up. I'm not like that. I just follow. I don't have to mash the gas pedal down as soon as the green drops because I'm going to get to first place immediately. This just ain't going to happen. So, it's always my thinking that there's no sense in being in a hurry when the green drops. Now, if it's the last lap and it's green, white checker or something, I get it. But at the beginning of the race, if everybody just kind of sits back and says, hey, we got a whole race to go, let's just get rolling and get up to speed, and then we can start partying, I think you're going to have a much better race. And I think, again, that makes this issue go away. But that's just me. I'm not to run over the guy in front of me. And I know there are a lot of very competitive, aggressive drivers out there in the sim community that when that green drops, the car in front of him better go or he's going to get pushed. And I get it, but I don't get it. And that's all I got on that topic.
Well, we're joined here in the broadcast booth for our friend Jack Truin from TDR Racing. And Jack, as a guy who knows you, we can go back and forth on this all day, but I'm just going to poke fun here. I know you over at TDR, a big fan of restarts, are you not, sir?
Oh, yeah, I love restarts. Restarts are good. It's what I call them, Phil, a double-edged sword.
But at what point, Jack, I know how you feel about this. I know we've talked about this, a billion times, but at what point is there any justified time where you can, as a league, restart a race, or is it too arbitrary? Once that thing goes green, I think it's race on. I'm sure you agree with that.
When it goes green, it's race on because, like you guys, as Todd has said, I think, you have a wreck, you restart it, you have another wreck and you don't restart, then, how's that fair to the guy who made it through the wreck? And now he didn't make it through the second one. And then it just goes on and on and on. And, before you know it, it's an hour and you haven't even started the race.
Todd, I believe we also been joined by our good friend from NRT Game Servers, Mr. Dave Stanley. So, Todd, I'm going to let you take it away with Dave. What's going on, Dave? What's on your mind?
What's up? I'm here to sing the national anthems, but I had to go eat dinner.
So, Dave, what do you have for us here on this round table? You're usually coming into TeamSpeak, chit-chatting on just about every topic that's going on. What do you have for us today?
The fact that everybody's got away from open setups, and everybody wants to run fixed setups and run around Talladega like a bunch of idiots.
Well, that's certainly blunt and to the point, and
it's true.
I absolutely agree. I feel what you're saying. I've seen a lot of leagues that for a long time ran the open setups, have recently switched to the fixed setups. But just myself in the last week, I've been able to go out there and run some open setups, and it certainly gives a new flavor of stuff. And it's certainly different from that, beating around the bush of just any no talent monkey going out there and driving around Talladega for hours.
Well, I don't know. There's just something about, you were talking about restarts and guys having open sets and not knowing how to restart and spinning their tires and looking like real NASCAR drivers swinging from side to side there, heating them friggin' tires up, which anybody who knows anything about the game doesn't do jack diddly squat. Look at that. I haven't even swore yet. What do you think of that, fellas?
Yeah, but, open setups, okay, you have guys like me who cannot make a setup. So then you have other people who can make a great setup. So I would have no chance in that race You have
Sure
a,
you would.
you make it a fixed setup. Everybody's got to deal with the same thing, and it puts it in your hands, not the setup guy's hands.
I'll give you my zip file with 4 megabytes of setups, open setups in it. You can just sit and
I think I agree with you 100% there, Jack. I've always, every time I ran my leagues before, I always wanted to do fixed setups, and I don't knock people that do open setups because they got the time to do them, and some of them are really fast, and I've gotten setups from people that run open setups, and sometimes use those setups in league races that are fixed setups. So it all works, but my thinking is it's just like being in the military, I guess, because I have a military background and everything, and you just learn to overcome and adapt on everything that you try to do. And to me, a fixed setup does exactly that. It puts everybody on the even playing field. If the car pushes, it's pushing for everybody. If it's too loose in the corners, it's too loose for everybody. So I think a fixed setup race actually pulls out the people that can adapt the quickest, and that's who's going to shine the most, I think. And that's just my logic behind it.
well, it then becomes your drivers. I mean, you got to look after your tires. You got to look after this. You got to look after that. Fixed setup. You build it for how many laps you're going to run until the first pit and make your changes. I forget who I was watching race the other night that was streaming it. I think it was up in Insomniacs, and he was good enough to run a stream. And I mean, he was setting up how much fuel he wanted, what side of tires he wanted. Other than the fact of not being able to adjust the tape or the wedge or anything like that. I mean, guys loose is fast. Most of the fixed setups here anymore, the guys are making them loose, and guys can't drive them, and then they wonder why the guy moves to the front, and then all of a sudden there's a wreck, and the whole field goes, and then everybody's a bunch of idiots.
No, I hear you. We had a good comment in the chat box, and it really sums that up. This person checked in and said, fixed setups, best driver wins. Open setups, best driver with most time wins. And that's really what it boils down to. The guys that are decent drivers or good drivers or competitive who, got a full-time job, got a family at home. They just don't have time to spend hours and hours on the game making a setup that's going to be perfect for them. So they just learn to drive whatever they're given. And the people that can spend 6 hours a day or however long it takes, I don't know because I don't make open setups, but however long it takes, they're going to have an advantage no matter how you look at it.
And I can come at it from a different angle because, like I said, I've gone out and done a little racing this week as well as far as open setups. The guys at Fast were good enough to allow me to come over there and turn some laps. And, me being a guy coming from a fixed setup background and a fixed setup league for all the years I've done it, being a race director at TDR, I had the benefit of having a lot of setups at my disposal. And also, Dave, you've been so gracious over the years to send me so many. So when I went over there, in about 3 minutes of practice, I had a couple of things to tweak and try, and I found something stable. I wasn't quite as fast as the rest of the crew, but I had something I was able to go out there and control and make some adjustments on. And that was the cool part about me going out there with the open setup. I was able to customize some adjustments as I felt, and maybe make a wedge adjustment or a track bar adjustment, and found myself getting more and more comfortable as the night went on, and faster I got. So there's certainly a place in our community for open setup racing, and I see a couple of guys have just joined down to the waiting room. I'm going to drag them in, and they're two guys I know for sure that know a lot about open setup racing, and that's our friends from Fast Racing. Charles Coates is here, and also Joseph Weaver from Fast Guys. Guys, welcome aboard. I'll ask you first, Charles. What do you got to add on the topics?
Well, I have a question. So you just had your roundtable question about realism and about not doing restarts, and the game's a simulation, right? So where's the simulation when you're not running an open setup? Where's the simulation when you're all running the same setup and the setup isn't to your liking?
Or it's too loose and you can't drive it.
I love it. That's a good question. It's like partial sim, right?
Because I got a guy in my league, and I can't even drive his setups. He drives them looser than hell. But then we go run a fixed setup race, and it's just tight for everybody. And that's no fun. That's no fun having to lift and wrestle your car through the corner when I can move the weight back 3 clicks and move some wedge around, and I can actually turn the car.
Well, Charles, I grew up years ago. I guess that doesn't make sense, but anyways, is that you go and run your open set race, and I ran a league. We only had 15, 16 guys, but we had 15, 16 guys that raced every night of the week. This is going back to 2003, 2004. All open sets, and one of the rules that we had, and I've watching the broadcast, I can't get over the accidents that are happening. The guys that are running into the back of other guys and doing this. They don't have to do anything. They can't change anything. So why are they having all these accidents? And they should be staggering, and I don't know. And the older guys, I mean, you got to admit the game's dying a slow death. But back when I was there, you'd get somebody new and you'd work with them. You'd help them try to fit in to race with you, that you knew that you could race around them. That's gone. Put a fixed setup in, and if you wreck, oh well, there'll be another race on in 15 minutes somewhere else.
Well, certainly some topics, you can certainly take us and run around for a little while, and I appreciate all the conversation you guys have brought in. I know we've got Joseph Weaver in the booth with us as well, and Weaver, you got anything to add to this conversation?
I'm going to really piggyback off of what Dave just said, but the whole 15 people showing up, but they show up every week. When I started doing online racing in NR, I came into a league that was a mostly open setup league, so I got used to it really quick, and it was the same group of people, and we ran five days out of the week, and it was the same people showing up every day of the week, no matter what, and we all bonded together, and it was a nice, tight-knit group. And you really got to know people and how they race, and it's a lot better than going into some random league where you know two people and you don't know what anybody's doing around you. And I think the open setup part of that, it really helps because I bounce things back and forth with people that I know and the people that I drive with, and we all help each other. It's not just, hey, I got this good setup, I ain't letting you know shit, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough that Junior had his server with me when we bought Redline servers. Dan Denaire, that group from DMP, and Junior give me his folder. Dan Denaire give me. There's CCR or old setups in there from CCR. I forget what is it, Todd? 4.5 megabytes of zipped up open setups for every track that you could possibly think of. I mean, that's what I just don't understand. And it's no knocks against anybody. Don't get it the wrong way. Don't take that the wrong way about, open setups and fixed setups, but I'm an open setup guy. I've never been a fixed setup guy.
And we'll start reeling this in now. Ultimately what it comes down to is it comes down to two different eras in what we call our community. I mean, back then we didn't have an association like the Sim Racing Association that brought so many leagues together under one TeamSpeak server, that brought guys together, put them on a board together to really have a lot of interleague communication. It was a lot of leagues that did things kind of on their own. They had their own core group of guys that went and did things, and you raced at your home league, 5 nights a week. Now you have guys bouncing back and forth between leagues, and hey, anybody that knows me knows that I'm an advocate for open setup racing. I've always been an advocate for open setup racing, but I also understand the flip side of that where, as Rich touched on earlier, some guys just don't have the time to put forward to that. Some guys come on a Friday night and they're looking for a quick race to go have some fun with, but they don't have the Monday through Thursday to put in time to build a fast setup. But it's not like it was 10 years ago where these guys could come into their race league where that's the only place they raced, and guess what? If they needed setup help, these guys would help them. Competition has grown over the years, and it continues to grow. When you run into these foreign leagues where you only know a handful of people and you're going up against 25 other guys who you don't know, why would they share your setup with you? If you're going back to this being a simulation where you want realism, you're not going to go into a NASCAR garage and have 43 teams and expect the other, 38 teams, pending you don't work on a team with 4 drivers, that are wanting to help you and make you better, because they're out there to beat you just as much as you're out there to beat them. So it all kind of ties into the same thing where, you know, the community mindset now is trying to create as much of a even playing field as you can, which is why a lot of these leagues run fixed setups. Now, if it was, I'm not going to call it divided because the community wasn't divided before this. People just kind of kept to themselves and did their own thing. You stuck with your league and that's where you race. You might venture out every now and again, but, you know, that's just what you did. But you know, when you're going to all these different leagues with different drivers that you're not familiar with, people are trying to keep it even for everybody. And I understand why they do the fixed setup for that very purpose.
Do you know why fixed setups got so popular? And then that'll be the last I got to say about it. It is because the Sierra lobby was up and the LPI was working. If you didn't have enough LPI to get into an open server or to get into an open setup server, you weren't getting onto it. Well, go find a fixed setup server. I can remember fixed setup. Everybody look at you and say, or you know, TeamSpeak wasn't as popular, but in the chat boxes on Sierra's matchmaker, oh, I ain't racing there. It's fixed setup. So it's like you say. It's a different. What do they call that? It's completely flipped.
I'd like to make a point on something you said earlier, Dave. You're talking about all the wrecks. Would spending an hour in practice building your setup not make you want to drive a little more carefully and be less likely to go piling into a wreck?
Well, that I can remember running races, and then after the race is over, half a dozen of us would get together and just hot lap, see who could get just qualify, sit here and tweak to see who could get the fastest setup, right? And then whoever got the fastest setup, we'd dial that back a bit, because as an admin, you'd always get guys coming in and say, I didn't get a chance to work on a setup. Anybody got a setup? Yeah, I got a setup. Here it is. You may have to tweak on it a wee bit. But you never gave them the one that you had worked on all week. I mean, back then in Talladega, Daytona, Darlington, Pocono, those seemed to be the big tracks. Then they started getting into the fantasy tracks, which were good, don't get me wrong. But like some of these guys that built the tracks back then, all they were doing, they couldn't build nothing. You know what I mean? What are you saying, CCR said LMAOF? Kick him out of here.
Gonna have to reel it in a little bit here, Dave. I know with open setup wise and what you're saying and fixed setups, because we're over an hour. But these fixed setups, open setups, guys, I tell you, I mean, to each their own. I mean, I run open setups in R Factor, and I run fixed setups in NASCAR 2003. But it doesn't say that I'm not going to run open setups in NASCAR 2003. If I have the time and I can put the time and the effort, I'll run in those because I've been around since NASCAR 2003 started to open the store. I spent many hours in DTR2 and DTR, the Rat Bag games. That's all I did is make open setups. So I'm not against it, and I know a lot of people aren't against it. And I'd be willing to see everybody to go out there and try open setups. I thank you guys for all your great comments and things on this open setup, guys. And we're gonna roll this into hot takes. But I thank you guys all for this enlightening conversation. It was really good on open setups versus fixed setups.
Yeah,
I only got one thing to say about the chat
Dave,
box.
go ahead real quick.
Okay, David Day. As long as I wasn't racing against you and the Team Crush with the CCR set on one of these new tracks, I'd kick your butt.
All right. Well, Dave Stanley, Joseph Weber, Charles Coates, and Jack Chewin from TDR Racing, of course. You know, thanks to those guys coming aboard. And guys, we've had a loaded show here. We've been on the air for a little over an hour, and we've got through the speed round, the round table, and now the Q&A with these guys. And great discussion. A lively bunch this week, wouldn't you say, Rich?
Yeah, most definitely. That conversation kept going on, and it's great topics, great guy, great bunch of guys in here chatting with us tonight, and got some good opinions out there, and good discussion back and forth on quite a few different topics. So good roundtable section. But with that being said, that's going to take us into our next section here on DRL Live, and we're going to go into hot takes.
All right, guys, it's time for the hottest segment here of DRL Live every week, and it's how we close the show every week. And it's called DRL Hot Takes. And, it's completely unfiltered, uncensored, just feelings off the top of our head and off the cuff from all the guys in the booth up here. And these opinions do not reflect those of DRL Network, our partners, or our clients. These thoughts are our own, and they are, made to stimulate the conversation and, discussion and debate here for this community and all sim racers out there as we welcome all topics of conversation here live week after week, a part of DRL Live. And Todd, Joe, I'm not sure you guys got anything as far as a hot take this week, but before I know I got a small one this week, but Joe, you got any closing remarks before we end this show this week?
Yeah, I want to end with, thanking you guys for having me on here. This is a blast. And, I think what we're starting to see week in and week out all throughout this community, and for those of you that don't follow the Sim Racing Association on Facebook, make sure you go out and do that. We're open to everyone. This is more than just NR 2003. This is, NR 2003, Project Cars, Wreckfest, iRacing, R Factor. We support all of it. So come and join the conversation and get a part of this and get a part of our association. Bring your leagues in here and, really help this thing grow and build off of it. But I think what we continue to learn week in and week out is there's a lot of passion involved in what we do. And while we all have our disagreements, we all still have some sort of common ground at the end of the day. And it's important to understand that, not everybody's going to get along with each other, but it's a matter of, where we're trying to take ourselves and our community as a whole at the end of the day and what we're trying to do with it. So I think in closing, that's what I'm trying to get across is, not all of us are going to agree on things. It's the fact that we can have these meaningful discussions about a wide array of topics that make this community so strong in whatever avenue it might be.
No, it's certainly healthy, lively discussion, Joe, and it was great to have you aboard for the first time here. Usually got my partner Todd Stanton alongside, and Todd, I'm going to throw it to you for your closing arguments of the show. But been a loaded show here tonight. A lot of good conversation, a lot of good topics, and it's been a good time, man.
Yeah, definitely been a great time here on the show, and the open setup versus fixed setup, that debate's been going on for many, many years, and it's still going on, and I appreciate those guys' input. I tell you, those guys have been around for a very, very long time. But I'm gonna leave it with this, Phil, as far as Sim Racing Association. Make sure you stop by the simracingassociation.com website. There's some new tools on that website. And make sure you do stop by that and go there. I also stop by and check out all the leagues in NASCAR 2003 that are going on, not only in the sim racing community or for the Sim Racing Association. Stop by some of your local R Factor leagues. I've tried out some different R Factor leagues. Not only that, I've tried out some other leagues that are outside the sim racing community and Excel or any of those guys. All tight-knit group of people, NASCAR 2003, R Factor, iRacing, Assetto Corsa. There's some Assetto Corsa leagues out there that are fantastic. Project Cars. There's all kinds of simulations. I just urge everybody to stop out and try something new this week. Try a new league out. Try a new sim out. I'm going to urge everybody to try that this week.
And we urge all sim racers to join us as part of the conversation at DRL Live every week. But we're in the hot take section, guys. So, my hot take for the week to close the show, I've talked about it a couple times tonight, but a hats off and a big hearty thank you to our friends Randall Coleman, Charles Coates, and all the guys over at Fast Racing. Was able to go over and run 2 nights with them this past week, all in open setups. And from a guy who's raced for 9 years in all the fixed setup leagues, yes, I've done some open setup racing, and can say I've won 2 championships in the home league, and a couple of times we ventured out into open setup, designated nights. But these guys do it night after night. They are the fast, they are the cream of the crop and the nicest of guys around. A lot of good gentlemen. So if you have not joined, check these guys out. Fast Racing League is their home. They're a partner of us here in the Sim Racing Association, like we are here with DRL. So my hot take, check out the guys at Fast Racing, and don't be afraid of these open setups, guys. You may find something you like, and that's my hot take this week. So thanks out there, everybody on YouTube land, for watching us tonight as far as for this segment of DRL Live on the DRL Network. We'll be back here next week with a fresh new installment. So call out to all the leagues out there. All the racing got going on this week is a bunch of these great leagues have series kicking off for the next week or so as we head toward Daytona Speed Weeks. Send us an email, DRL Live at DRLnetwork.com and check out all the great stuff we got going on as far as our live broadcast coming up here on DRTV, live on the DRL Network. So until next week, for Joe Allen, great to have him aboard tonight. Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, as always, on the controls. And for Too Tall Todd Stanton, my name is Phil Lacasse. Like I thank you all out there for watching us tonight with this latest installment of DRL Live. Good night. We'll see you next week.